welcome. I'm Ingrid, and I am so grateful that you are here with me today. I hope that this video inspires you to create something beautiful today, and maybe you'll join me in making one of these half mini Flip Tlop journals. This is my take on a, I guess, kind of half mini Flip Tlop journal, totally inspired by the original Flip Tlop Journal by Leslie of 507 Willow House Journals. I'm starting off with these envelopes that I picked up at Daiso, and they measure almost 6.5 by 9, as well as this like regular size journal, which is about 3.5 by 6.5, I believe, from Dollar Tree. So I'm going to fold over the largest envelope and then making sure that I'm not going all the way to the edge of the flap, just leaving a little bit of room. And then I'm going to attach the smaller journal to the front half of the envelope, as you can see here. And I decided that I actually wanted the envelope to be a little bit smaller, so I'm just going to cut down the sides, and I didn't measure anything, but I would say it's probably about an inch and a quarter on each side. Now what this will do is this will leave your envelope completely open, so you will have to glue it down in a minute. I also decided to cut down the top portion of the envelope for two reasons. One, to make a tab, and the other so that I'd have a pocket. But spoiler alert, I wasn't paying attention when I glued down my papers later on, as you're going to see when I'm decorating it, and I glued it shut. So make sure that if you want working envelopes that you're paying attention when you're gluing down your papers. I'm going to take the flap and just put it to the back. I'm going to go ahead and leave it just because it reinforces the paper and it makes it a little stiffer. So here you're going to see I'm just taking some glue and running it down my edge so that I can have a working pocket. And like I said, one of those pockets got glued in. The other one is still okay. And then I'm gluing the flap down of the smaller pocket, as well as gluing it back into place like I had shown you before. When I cut the pieces off the side, I had taken away the edges, so now I'm just gluing them in place. In order to make my envelope look a little more distressed or worn and tattered, I'm going to take some paint, and this is, I don't think it's a true black, but it's a black shade. And I'm going to just take my brush, just lightly dip it in the paint, and then go around all of the edges. You guys have seen me do this before, and it kind of is in lieu of distressing the edges with a distress stain, and it just adds a really nice vintage touch. Now I'm going to take some paint in raw umber, which is a deep brown, but you can use any kind of brown that you have. And this I'm going to dilute just a tiny bit with some water so that I can add some splashes. Now I do have to give a disclaimer here. I did not wear protective clothing, and I was trying to be very careful, but I still got little splashes on my clothing. So make sure that anything that is in the remote vicinity gets covered, because those splashes go everywhere. Also, some of the texture that I've added here with the splashes and with the edges inked is going to get covered up, but I'm okay with that because if it doesn't get covered up, it'll be there underneath. I just printed out some of the May printables over on my Patreon, and so I'm going to use these because I went heavy on the photos. I've been really wanting to use photos, and so I'm going to go ahead and use some of this. I will also use some other scraps that I have in a bin on my desk, but this is going to be the majority of the base. You can approach a project like this in several different ways. So I'm going to start by just covering the base of my pages. And like I said, I'm using the printables because these florals were sitting on my printer and I thought I really want to use them. It was like, when you have money and it like burns a hole in your pocket, kind of same idea. I just wanted to use them. About halfway through, I thought, well, these are going to be for a Patreon project, but oh well, we'll use them again. It's okay. I really love this little set that I came up with, and I hope that you guys enjoy it too. So I'm just going to, for the most part, I want my edges to be kind of more rugged and not so straight, and so I'm going to use a ruler to cut them out instead of using scissors or a trimmer. I will never not love vintage music paper. It is just so beautiful, and every time that I reach for it and use it, it makes my heart skip a beat. And I want to encourage you, if you have any old book pages, use the raw edges where it gets torn out, especially if it has like any little holes or anything. It just adds so much charm. I think that this is a really great composition to have the two florals flanking the music paper, I think that it adds a really good balance. As well as in the back, I have music paper already actually on the front part, and so on the back I will add some floral papers. Now these are from a different printable set, I believe maybe from Patreon as well. I do not remember. And so I'm going to add this, and I'm going to show you that I'm going to tear apart the printable. And so I wanted to show you that sometimes when you get a printable, don't just look at it for what it is. You can definitely use it how it comes, but you can also look outside of the box and tear it apart, use it as collage, and use pieces that you love. In this case, I love the edges of this printable that looks like worn tape, and so I'm going to cut them out and use it as if it is worn tape. I think that the paper on its own looks really cute, but I think that once I add this border to it, and I'm going to distress it, I'm going to cut out the notches, I'm going to cut it as if it was actual tape, and then once I glue it down, you're going to see the transformation that it gives this page. It gives it so much personality, it gives it just a brand new lease on life, and it makes it look definitely like it's been around for a long time. The photos are definitely the star of this project, so you can use any photos that you have on hand. And if you have family photos that you want to use, a great tip is to scan them in the computer and copy them onto cardstock or even photo paper. I love using matte photo paper. If you check out my Amazon link down below in the description, I will have my favorite papers to use, and so you can check those out if you want. And they really just give a nice touch. It almost looks like a real photo without having to sacrifice your real photos. I'm keeping this project pretty simple. All I'm going to do is layer photos on top of kind of little scraps of paper to give it some dimension. I'm going to add a few labels, particularly to this one, which is going to be the front. So I want it to be my focal point. So I had debated posting this video because unfortunately my storage ran out and I lost most of the design of this page as well as the next one, but I decided to go ahead and post it because I did do the back and also kind of a tag that goes in one of the pockets. So when you see it skip forward, you're going to know why. And if you've been listening to the news at all, we've been having some storms in Texas. Thankfully, this one was minor and we just had some rain, but I thought you might enjoy some of this audio. I really did get a lot of use out of the scrap busters I've made. Here you're going to see some of the ruffles using the vintage sewing pattern paper. That's like a tongue twister. And I'm going to squish it a little more so that it fits the bottom of the page. And then I'm going to add a photo inside so it looks like it's peeking through. This is such a simple page, but it is just so beautiful. It ended up being one of my favorites in the whole book, and it's probably the one that I spent the least amount of time on. If you haven't caught my Scrapbuster series, I will have it listed down below in the description. I have a whole playlist of Scrapbusters that you can do, and you can have them ready so that when you're working on a project, you can just add them in. Also, if you're not already subscribed, go ahead and pause this video right now. I'll wait. While you're at it, go ahead and make sure that you hit the bell so that you get notified anytime a new video comes out, and that way you won't miss any of them. But make sure you can also save the playlist to your channel, kind of. I don't really know how that works, but if you hit save playlist, then you have the playlist, and as I add items to it, then it'll automatically add there, so you have them anytime you need them, just for some extra inspiration. On the back page, since I had torn the paper up and made that border on the top, I wanted to make sure that I didn't cover it. So again, I'm going really simple with this one. I'm just going to layer the photo with some book page, and then I'm going to add this distress tape. Now, if you saw that tape sitting there, keep an eye on it, because in a minute, something is going to happen. It's fine in the end, but just a wise word to you: don't leave tape on your desk, especially when you are still in the middle of a project. I wanted to be completely transparent with you guys, because there's times where I make projects and they don't come out. They don't work out the way that I wanted them to, and this is the case here. I accidentally glued my envelope openings, and so one of them did come open, but the other one I couldn't figure out how to do it. So make sure, if you want working envelopes or pockets, that you make sure that you are not gluing them down. On the pocket that is working on the side, I'm going to just measure out some. This actually kind of looks like watercolor paper, maybe. It was in my pile of like kind of scraps or papers to use. So I'm just using what I have on hand, and I like it because it's stiffer and a more sturdy texture than just a regular paper. And so I'm going to just layer some pieces of scrap paper. I love this book that I have that I think it's black bean dyed. Maybe it's coffee dyed. I can't remember now, but I love the texture of it. So I'm going to use that as well as some book page. And then I'm going to layer a few elements, including another one of my scrap busters, and then just paper clip them in using one of those little tiny, adorable paper clips, and call this page done. Now, I could still add more hidden notes to this pocket, which is why pockets always will have a place in my journals and in my heart. Adding too much texture and not having stuff fit in is a daily occurrence here at my house. So when I was doing that and I pulled up the book, I was wondering why it wasn't pulling up. And it was that tape that I told you guys to keep an eye on the left-hand side. It ripped my picture. So I fiddled with it for a moment and then decided, you know what, old photos tear. And we actually just did a exercise like this on Patreon. And so I thought we're going to keep it. And she actually looks wonderful in the front with that tear. Do you agree? Leave me a comment down below. But that is it. It is a simple project. I do have this on 2x speed, but you can definitely make this in under an hour. So I hope that you were inspired. I hope that you enjoyed the video. If you did, I would really appreciate a thumbs up from you. And if you want to leave me some love, I won't say no to that either. And I am trying to get through all my comments. I'm about halfway done. So again, I love you so much. If you haven't heard that today, you are loved, you are treasured, and you are perfect. And till next time, love you. Bye.